I understand why no one watches my videos past the first 5 minutes, because 20 minutes is really is really too long of a video, and I feel like I'm just boring the hell out of you guys. So hey there, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Thank you for watching. Thank you to all 73 people that are subscribed to me at the time of making this. I really appreciate it, especially because all I'm doing is long form ranting, and I'm really surprised that people are taking an interest in it. But yeah, to go along with long form ranting, this is me talking to myself. I just talking to myself about things that I thought about whenever I was laying in bed the night before, and just bring it up in the morning whenever it's fresh on my head, and hoping that it gives some semblance of information that people can agree or disagree with something, so that we can just have a little bit of discourse, a little bit of chat. Thanks to everyone that's commenting and whatnot. I really do like your point of views, especially those from the Leica versus Fujifilm side of things. I understand that it may seem like I'm not under, like I just don't get the reason why people buy Leica. I completely do, but my point still stands that you cannot, that comparing Leica to any Fujifilm camera makes no sense unless you're comparing it on the basis of aesthetics. And I've said that over and over and over again in that video, and I've said it over and over everywhere else. But every time someone wants to argue, I'm just saying, when you argue that, oh well, so many things are different and blah blah, and that's why people prefer this over this, that's the point I'm making. I'm making that there's too many differences to compare the two other than aesthetics. And I'm making the point that no, they don't even function the same. Like literally the focusing system on both cameras for manual focus, it doesn't even matter. They're not the same camera, and they're nowhere near. So it makes no sense to compare them. And once again, the only two comparing them are people trying to justify their purchases on either side. And I just want to, again, make sure that glaring detail is kept in mind, that the only people that compare Leica and Fujifilm are those who are having to justify why they purchased what. And I don't think that's smart, because plain and simple, they are nowhere near the same at all. And even more specifically, the way they're priced is nowhere near the same. And you can make justification for, oh, Leica's priced like this because of that. No, it's overpriced. And you can make a justification that Fujifilm could be priced for that, and no, it couldn't. Fuji doesn't, they're not doing enough to price their body at Leica prices. So anyway, that's with that. This 18 f2, I shot a few shots. I've been putting all the shots that I've been shooting recently on my Instagram are with this lens, and I've been shooting some black and white because, once again, I just wanted a documentary feel with this. That's what I feel like is really what makes us stand out, because it's a really documentary focal length, 28mm effective focal length. And so love this lens. Yesterday I took it out while we were having a walk, just to photograph some of the area, because there's construction in the area we're living in. And yeah, it went great. I, of course, always have a Tiffin Black Pro Mist 1/4 filter on here. I've been doing that for a couple years, and so everyone, usually I get one or two people that say, oh, it's got flaring, is that with the lens hood? Or even more, oh, your background seems really bright and stuff. And it's intentional. I just want you to know that. I don't mind flares, honestly. In a photo that I put up of my fiance, well, actually, I didn't even put it up, but one of the photos I took, which was my favorite ones, but she asked me not to post it, has a lot of flaring. And I like it. I do. I push this the film simulation, the Ilford HP5, which, by the way, I really thought I liked Tri-X 400, but that Ilford HP5 simulation, the grain on that and just the way it looks is really, really beautiful, especially for skin. It looks really good on skin. And so yeah, so I've been using that, but I really like that film simulation for this lens. I like all the film simulations for this lens. I'm a huge on Superior 1600 film recipe right now. That's been one of my go-to. I love the softness of the image when you shoot with that film simulation. But back to the lens. The lens is great. And by the way, this is a beat up as hell lens. If you've watched one of my other videos whenever I first debuted me getting this, this lens was in well-used condition from MPB, which means it's basically on its last leg, and it only misfocused one time in a backlit situation. And I took about maybe 70 photos while we were walking. Photos of the dog's friend, photos in people's backyards. Long story. photos of the construction around, some of the construction workers, of my fiance, of my dog, of our shadows, a lot of stuff with this camera and lens set up. And man, the images are great. So you can go check out my Instagram if you want to see them. I'll be putting them in a video later though, where I do it. I'm not going to say it's a practical review or anything. I'm just going to say, it's just a day-to-day review. A day in the life review of an 18mm f2 and what it can get you. And honestly, I love the images. And man, I just can't tell you enough. The 35 1.4 has gotten a lot of rest, and I was afraid of that because that's always what happens when I get the 18. The focal length is just great. There's not too much compression, or the focal length is just great. There's not too much distortion. You get a lot in the shot. You're able to get up pretty close and get some nice detail. There's another photo in there of my fiance giving me a little kizzy face, getting in the way of my photo, but how close this thing focuses. I mean, it's a fantastic lens. And on the X Pro 3, the X Pro 3 really makes that lens shine. I've had that lens on the XT3 and on the XH1 and on the XE3, and it did great. It did fantastic. The X Pro one as well. But on the X Pro 3, it's like it breathes new life into that XF18 f2. The focus is snappier. The fact that it's not missing, there's not as much breathing. It has just as much to do as the camera as it does the lens with how well I'm enjoying it right now. And so I really think that if you were to get the 18 f2 right now, and you have an XT4 or an X Pro 3 or an XE3 or the XS10, man, I think you're going to be blown away by how well it works. Something else that might blow you away besides the missiles from North Korea that are being tested that America's ignoring is, we're over here. We're looking to purchase another lens, and but the lenses I'm thinking of, I've actually got 4 lenses that I'm thinking of, and the reasons for me thinking of each one of these lenses might blow you away. And I feel bad about it because I was so gung-ho on the 90 f2, and that's number 1 on my list. But the thing about the 90 f2 is, because I go back and I look at some of my images and I really like them, but then I start to remember, like, man, you know what? The only thing I didn't like about that was holding handheld. I was really having to adjust my shutter speed quite a bit. I usually can shoot at 1/60th. I flutter between 1/25th and 1/60th as my shutter speed for everything, especially handheld. Sometime I can go 1/30th if it's I'm super patient, haven't had coffee. So 1/60th and 1/25th are what I flutter between for my shutter speed. And just everyday regular application. If I got an ND filter, sometimes you don't have an ND filter, and so you got to compensate somewhere else. And I use shutter speed to compensate, especially if I'm photographing people, because I figure, you know what, I might as well just freeze them in time anyway if the sun's out. But yeah, I would always have to find myself with my shutter speed at around 1/500th. Which is crazy, but that's literally what I would have to do for whenever I was using the 90 f2, especially whenever I was trying to get up close on people's faces a while back, if that makes sense. And so I started thinking about that, and I was like, man, there is that. Then I started thinking about the filter thread size. I've got a lot of filters from 77, 72, 67, etc., but I don't have any 62 millimeter but I don't have any 62 millimeter filters, so I would have to adapt my step ring for it again, and the whole thing with adapting step rings and having to keep those separate. I stopped liking that workflow, and that kind of gets in the way whenever you're just trying to pack lightly, because then you got to pack this and step ring, and so instead of just bringing this much lens or filter, you're bringing this much, and it does make a difference when you're like me and you're carrying the 5-liter Peak Design Sling most of the time for everything. So the 90 f2 is one of the ones I'm thinking about. The other one is the 50 f2. Now, the reason why I'm thinking about the 50 f2, and hear me out on this, is just for weight, but also I like the 50 f2. I thought it was a great lens. I thought it was just fine. I'm not someone, once again, who worries about bokeh and fall off at all. I am more interested in, like, I use the background. I don't mind using the background to tell a story, basically. So I don't really care about fall off. And to be honest with you, as someone who's shot with the 50 to 140 from Fujifilm and the 70 to 200 2.8s from Canon, the f2 doesn't worry me. And I understand it's all about the compression, but technically, if you like the 7200 from Canon, you're technically getting a 75 millimeter focal length from Fujifilm, so it's not that bad. Okay, you got to stop freaking out about shooting. How old is a review on a review online? How's the bokeh? How's the fall off? How's the bokeh balls? And maybe you should start focusing on if someone's in subject. And maybe you should start focusing on if someone's in focus, but I can touch on that later. So it's that lens. The 56 1.2 is one that I'm just thinking about because I've had it before. I liked it. It was a sharp lens, but I hated the autofocus. And it's not my favorite lens ever. To be honest with you, I feel like a lot of people, if the 56 1.2 was a 56 1.4, I don't think it would get as much love as it does. And I feel like the 1.2 is the only reason it gets much love. Because, by the way, it is not good at focusing in low light whatsoever. It is not that great in low light whatsoever. It is tough focusing on that lens in low light. So that's the thing is, I would love to get the 56 1.2 if it focused well. But I feel like if that was a 56 1.4 or 56 1.8, people would in a heartbeat say, "Oh, buy the 50 f2 instead," because there is, it's a sharp lens, man. 56 1.2 is a sharp lens, but it has great character, but it's not anywhere near one of the top Fujifilm lenses. And I feel like, at what point is there diminishing return on everything else for that you're ignoring just because you like the sharpness? And the 1.2, everyone's like, "Oh, I can use it in low light." Nah, you can't. It's tough to use in low light. So the 50 f2 works better than that low light. But anyway, so that's my gripe with that. And then the last lens, actually, I think is the cheap set of all of them, is I'm looking at the Viltrox 56 1.4. I've used Viltrox lenses in the past with the 85 1.8. I've had the 33 and I've had the 23. And they're all great lenses. They all do pretty well for what you ask them to do. They remind me of the f2 lenses from Fujifilm because they don't really have much character. The optical quality is great. The IQ is great. But there's not much character, and it's just a pretty bland rendition of basically every lens you have going on right now. But the one great thing about Viltrox is that I have 52 millimeter filters because my 18 f2 and my 35 1.4 are 52 millimeter filters, and so I wouldn't have to buy more filters. I wouldn't have to buy more Tiffin filters, and to me that's a bonus. That is a plus to me. I am for that unity. I am for that. Plus, it's smaller. It's going to be able to fit in the kit pretty well. It's not as small as the 50, the 52. The 50 f2, and technically it's not that much smaller than the the Fujifilm 56 1.2. It's slimmer, but it's still tall. But I do like being able to be unified in my filter threads, and so that is something that means a lot to me. Plus, Viltrox makes great lenses, and to be honest with you, with that lens, I could probably get away with putting some gaffer's tape over f2, and that way it doesn't slip. I don't think the ring will slip, but I could get away with putting some gaffer's tape over f2 to hold it in place if I want to shoot it at f2 or at f1.4, wherever I want to do it. I could probably get away with finding a spot where it's extra crisp and sharp. I heard at f2 it's at its sharpest and it's at its nicest. And not worry about that ring slipping, because that's what everyone complains about. I've never shot with the 56 1.4, but I just hear good things. Watched a few reviews on it, and basically everyone from a practical standpoint says that it's a great lens. It gives you great images, and once again, I shoot in recipes and JPEG and I edit my RAWs. So that's one thing that I always think about that whenever I'm watching a review, is the fact that I know for a fact that everyone edits their RAWs. So when they tell you, oh, if you click in the link down below, you can get my RAW files and work with them. If you know what you're doing with your RAW files, you don't have to worry about a lot of things whenever it comes to, chromatic aberration, etc., etc. Anyway, I just feel like I'm rambling whenever it comes to this, but that's my point is, everyone edits their RAW files. And, for someone like me who shoots in recipes, and majority of people see just the recipes, I upload the RAWs, but I don't edit them. That's basically my thoughts on it. I can't think of the thing about it is everyone may think, oh, the 90f2 and the 56 1.2, those are way far and above the other lenses. And the thing is, from shooting them, they're not. And it's just what you're looking for. If you're looking for bokeh because you think that nice fall off and all that, if you think that is professional, then you're gonna have a lot different opinion of me. But I don't think anymore that having a blurred background and a blown out background and only one eye being in focus and their lips being out of focus and etc., etc., I don't think that's really I just don't think that's the most professional thing anymore. I don't think that is what people care about to look at. I've noticed that people more care about how they look. I've shot some photos where I thought they were really good because the background's blown out and everything, and I've had a woman concerned about her hair, or a guy concerned about the way his side profile looked because his head was turned too far. So, you start learning about what people are actually paying attention to, and it's never the background. And it's pretty crazy because we care about that so much on YouTube and so much on Reddit forums and on Flickr and on Instagram, how blown out the background is. And we're getting back to, I feel like we're moving back into the land of environmental portraiture times, and I'm all for it. So yeah, I'm thinking the 56 1.4 might be what I jump for, if not the 50 f2. And it's just because I'm not going to use those lenses all the time, but when I do, I just want to make sure I have that little bit of extra reach. I'll have a decision by the end of the week. By the end of the week, I will have ordered one of those, and I will let you guys know. But if you have any opinions on the Viltrox, on the 90 f2 from Fujifilm, the 56 1.2 from Fujifilm, the 56 1.4 from Viltrox, the 50 f2 from Fujifilm, let me know because I'm more than happy. And no, I'm not going to consider the 85 1.8 again. I got the way I have everything mapped on here. I'm not gonna map just for the Viltrox 85 1.8 a dial just for aperture. I'm not going to do that. So that's already out of the picture. Anyway, that's that with all that. And the last thing is I'm ordering a sling. So I carry around the Peak Design 5 liter. This is the 5 liter everyday sling, and I love this bag. I truly do. It is fantastic. I can't think of anything wrong to say about this bag. I have a review about these bags, but I've had this in the 10 liter sling for about almost 3 years now. This thing right here, dude, is sturdy, but like it looks brand new. The zippers all still work. I mean, it's a fantastic bag. But I just having it on me, I just can't get it to fit right because it's a bigger bag. I carry it, and then I don't fill it all the way up. So it's just the X Pro 3, and it's kind of just sliding around in there and stuff. And so I thought, okay, what do I carry when I'm out and about with my fiance? I'm gonna have some business cards. So I'll have that in there. Maybe a lens cloth or an ND filter. Okay, so I'll need to put that in there. Maybe some SD cards, probably not, so I don't need to put that in there. I may be carrying her phone. Okay, my wallet. I always carry my wallet in my front pocket. Side note, I just watched a video. Peter McKinnon puts his wallet in his back pocket and his phone, and it got me thinking, does everyone in Canada put their wallet in their back pocket? Because here's my thing, to live in an area, or maybe it's just the neighborhood he lives in or the city, you guys don't get robbed? Like, you guys don't have pickpockets? I'm still shook from that. But yeah, so I always carry my wallet in my front pocket. So I thought, okay, and so I'm looking at a smaller fanny pack kind of sling thing that I'm going to be, just reviewing in a practical sense, and I'll let you guys know about it. I was looking at the Moment bag, but I just don't think it fits enough. And I think that sometimes these things are geared for photographers, but Moment is still going to be geared towards their gear, which is the Moment lenses. And that's exactly exactly what that bag is geared for. It has a dedicated cell phone slot. It's got dedicated slots for their lenses, but there's a reason why, you know, they're only showing an X100V in that bag. And to be honest with you, I'm pretty sure it's because anything more than that, and you're kind of stretching it to its fullest, and it's going to become bulky and heavy, and I don't want to deal with that. So I got a certain bag that I've ordered, and I'm hoping, and I'll show you how I load that bag out for like a street photography day, for a walking around day, or for an us being out of town day. I'll show you how I load it out for all three of those situations. I'll show you what it can fit, and I'll show you what's the most you can fit in here, and like how does it fit on the body, because that's always the thing I want to know about. I want to know how much can I stuff inside of a bag, how much can I stuff inside there if I need to, and then even more, how does it look, how does it feel if I stuff it, etc., etc. So I'm hoping to give you some information on that, and be a little have a little fashion shoot with it. But I ran in for way too long. This is going to be over 20 minutes, I'm sure. Anyway, have a good one. Appreciate you guys, all 73. Good to see you, man.